morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Tuesday, the 12th day of September, year of our Lord 2017. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We'll have open lines this first hour. Hour two, we will have Leon Green. We'll talk about essential oils and a lot of other things, as we usually do. Proper tip of the day, I want to encourage all of you to get your winter gear out. Check it for being ready for use. That it's everything serviceable, boots, socks, trousers, hats, gloves, all those things. And of course, remember, if you're considering getting new socks, be sure and check out merino wool socks. It's been, I've lost track now, probably 15, 16 years since I started wearing merino wool socks all year round. And it doesn't matter whether it's 110 degrees or 10 degrees, my feet are comfortable. And there's a high likelihood you'll find the same thing out for yourself. We're going to have open lines this first hour, as I said. And since we had Jimmy on yesterday to talk about firearms and firearms maintenance, we didn't talk very much about the 11th day of September. So we're going to do that for a while here. I'll tell my story. If you've got your own, you're certainly welcome to. The morning of September 11th, 2001, I was living in Kirkwood, Missouri, St. Louis suburb, with my wife, Dr. Moore. My adult daughter and her 3-year-old son was living with us. I had just traveled to Seattle and brought them down a couple of months before, 2 or 3 months before. I was preparing to go to a memorial service for my friend, my mentor, and my employer, Mr. Charles Shaw, who had died the Friday before. That name probably doesn't mean much to you, but almost all of you have seen the film The Great Escape with Steve McQueen. That movie was based on the book written by Mr. Shaw, and Steve McQueen played the role that Mr. Shaw played in real life, having been captured and escaped from German POW camps 5 times. So I'm preparing to go to this memorial service. I'm putting on my proper attire, and I get a call from a friend. John, is your TV on? Well, it wasn't. I turned it on, and there's the video, the live feed of one of the 2 twin towers that was hit. So we're watching that and getting the morning going, and I'm still determined to go to this memorial service. And before I leave to fuel up my vehicle and go to the service, the second aircraft hits, the second tower. Well, I'm still determined to go to this service, so I go ahead and leave the home. I'm at a service station getting fuel. I got my radio going because I didn't want to miss anything, and I hear the reporter saying, "There's smoke coming out of the Pentagon." Well, that was it. All right, I made a decision on that immediately that as far as John Moore was concerned, we were at war. If there's smoke coming out of the Pentagon, that means the Pentagon's been attacked. I finished fueling up the vehicle. I returned home, only 2 or 3 blocks away. I informed my wife and my daughter what my decision was, and the decision was the following decision, that we would fuel up all 3 vehicles. Mine already was. My wife would get hers fueled up. My daughter would get hers fueled up, topped off. And by noon, I told the women, by noon, ladies, we will have all the money out of the bank, our vehicles fueled up, all essential items packed in the vehicles, ready to go. And the next thing that happens, I don't care where it is, the next thing that happens, we will evacuate the city and go to our safe haven about 100 miles away. I also began the process of setting up a communication center on the dining room table to monitor all the emergency frequencies, the ham frequencies, shortwave, which we did. And at the time, my wife wasn't sleeping that well. She had the night shift overnight. We had that monitoring system station set up and monitor the emergency frequencies 24 hours a day for the next week. By Saturday, there was a high school reunion for my graduating class I wanted to go to, and I took a radio with me so I could monitor the emergency frequencies while I was participating in that reunion. Also, a scanner. It changed everything. That day, by noon we had everything accomplished that I wanted to accomplish. I was in touch with a couple of friends and monitoring what was going on around St. Louis. Around 5 o'clock, 5:30, I decided to take a walk through the neighborhood and see what was going on at the service stations and at the supermarket nearby. Both of these within about a 3-block radius. By 5 o'clock, 5:30, I noticed that lines were beginning to form at the gas stations, people wanting to top off their fuel. There was more activity than normal at the supermarket. I wouldn't say it was a run, but there was clearly more people there at that time of day than I would expect on a normal weekday. It changed everything nationwide, worldwide, quite frankly. The Patriot Act had been drafted over a period of several months beforehand. Brand spanking new, ready to be signed. There's no way Congress would have signed that under normal conditions. It just simply would not have happened. They needed a crisis like this for the motivation to sign the Patriot Act. What else? Well, I mentioned briefly, and this is important, it's easy. You don't need to go to great lengths. It's easy to verify that the government's story about what happened the 11th day of September 2001 is a fabrication. Real easy. And the glaring smoking gun, without getting into dancing Israelis and all the various things that one can get into, is Building 7. Now, there are 50 states in the United States. Most of these 50 states don't have a building as large as Building 7. I know in St. Louis, we have a building that size, the MetLife building. It dominates the St. Louis skyline, has a green metal roof. Many states don't have a building as large as Building 7 at the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. A massive steel reinforced building that I've read and I've heard was built stronger and more resilient than other skyscrapers at the time because it was intended to house important federal offices. There was the Twin Towers, the two large buildings. Each one was hit by an aircraft, 747s, I believe. And they caught fire and allegedly collapsed because of fire, which has never happened before or since. There's never been a modern steel-reinforced building that's collapsed as a consequence of fire. That's never happened. But a lot of people can't comprehend it. They can't wrap their brains around that fact. It is a fact, on one hand. On the other, what happened to Building 7 doesn't take a degree in engineering, doesn't take a lot of thought or a lot of pondering to understand the following. There was a few fires in there because of what was going on just not too far away with the Twin Towers. Some windows had been broken, and minor, when I say minor, very minor fires had been started inside Building 7. What's inside these modern skyscrapers? You got flame-resistant, fire-resistant carpet, flame-resistant, fire-resistant drapery, fire-resistant furniture, and you got paper, of course. Paper burns at 450 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe, or 455. Those fires, those very small, very minor fires in Building 7 could have been put out, as I said yesterday, by the local Boy Scouts with some handheld CO2 fire extinguishers. They were no, and by the way, of course, they have sprinkler systems, don't they? Could have been put out by handheld fire extinguishers. Now, the 9/11 Commission report, I bought my copy as soon as it was available. It's paper bound, about 1.5 inches thick or so. I forget the page count, but it's around 500 plus pages. This is the official commission, 9/11 Commission report on what happened that fateful day. Don't you think it would be kind of important to mention a building the size of Building 7 in this comprehensive, complete report? Do you think that just might be important? Of course it would. It wasn't even mentioned. Was not even mentioned. As I mentioned yesterday, if Building 7 had been blown up on September 10th, it would have been one of the biggest crimes in the history of the United States. But since it didn't, since it went down on September 11th, it did not even get a mention in the official 9/11 Commission report. Did not even get a mention. That's not acceptable. Now, here's something you may not be aware of. There's more than 1,000 engineers. These are credentialed engineers that have graduated from brick and mortar universities and have a degree in engineering that have all come forward publicly to state that what happened, the official report of what happened, I should say, on the 11th day of September 2001 could not happen. That what's claimed to have happened defies the laws of physics. It does. Now, we're supposed to believe that jet fuel can and will melt structural steel. That's what we're supposed to believe. What is jet fuel, by the way? Is it some really exotic material? It's kerosene. That's all jet fuel is kerosene. There's nothing exotic about jet fuel. It's kerosene. And kerosene will burn. It will burn. But I got a slight problem, though. I don't have exact numbers in front of me. That problem is it lacks about 1,000 degrees temperature to melt structural steel. Now, I know a number of metal fabricators, men who make their living fabricating metal, aluminum, steel, other metals, and so forth. Almost every community has a welding shop of some sort. You can go to any proprietor of any welding shop and make the following offer. Sir, if you can melt structural steel with kerosene, I will pay off the mortgage on your house, pay off the loans against your business, and send all your children through universities. I'll do that if you can melt structural steel with kerosene. Well, the welder, the metal fabricator, will look at you like you've got two heads, and maybe politely or maybe not so politely tell you that you're wasting his time, because that can't be done, regardless of the financial incentive. It can't be done. You can't melt the structural steel with kerosene. It only gets so hot. You can't get any hotter. It can't. But we're all supposed to believe that. Now, Americans are terribly ignorant of science, terribly ignorant of what goes on in the real world when it comes to things like this. So they fooled us. They've got most of the people believing that kerosene, fires fueled by kerosene, can melt structural steel and cause these steel-reinforced concrete structures to collapse in their footprint. turning concrete into powder, by the way, and having the structural steel still be in a near molten stage weeks after the fact. That's what we're supposed to believe. No, that didn't happen. That did not happen. There was no independent forensics done at the scene of the crime that I'm aware of. Within days, the debris field was being hauled off to landfills, and the melted steel and scrap steel taken to China. I think some of the steel was used in one or two naval warships as some kind of memorial. I think it's a fair statement to say that what happened the 11th day of September 2001 was the worst crime ever committed in the United States. Hawaii, of course, was not part of the United States in 1941. It was a territory of the United States. It's right up there with Pearl Harbor, isn't it? Of course, the casualties in Pearl Harbor were almost all military people. There probably were some civilians. I don't know. The death count, the body count was almost the same. And what happened on the 7th day of December 1941 was an act of war. What happened the 11th day of September 2001 was a crime. Here's our break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 12th of September. What a caller on hold here. We got William in Montana. Good morning, William.
Good morning, John. I have a kind of a unique story. Back when 9/11 happened, I was just waking up from, this whole sort of liberal past that I had. I was starting to be pushed out of that community because my conclusions were starting to become a little more drastic for their taste. And I was going through a divorce, and I was thinking, like, what am I still doing in a West Coast city? I got to get out of here. And then 9/11 happened, and when the first plane hit, I bought into it, 100% that this was kind of strange. Was it intentional? And then when the second plane hit, I knew that I bought the whole dialogue that was being laid down. Although I felt that there was something funny about it, and then later that day, I had just got a really super fast 900 baud modem, and I was online, and a guy who was on his way to work to the Pentagon, who worked for Stars and Stripes, he was just a kid, and he was just coming down the highway when the explosion happened at the Pentagon. And he stopped his car, jumped over the guardrail, and he took 11 pictures of the Pentagon. And I started downloading these. Well, back then with the 600 baud modem, it took like 20 minutes to download one of these photos. And I got 3 or 4 of them downloaded, and then they disappeared. He thought, like these photos, he immediately posted them, and he thought this was going to be his ticket to ride. I mean, he was right in the right place at the right time, and then the photos completely disappeared while I was downloading the 4th one. And when I looked at those photos, there was no jet plane, in the photos. Even that part of the Pentagon hadn't collapsed, and I thought. But the report was that, a third plane had slammed into the Pentagon. And my head was like totally scrambled, because from that moment on, I had those photos on my computer, and I said, there's no jet plane. So what do I take from this? I mean, I was like totally blown away, because, in a sense, these photos, especially these innocent photos, don't lie. There was no way that there was a jet plane that slammed into that wall. And
William, has there, and I must admit, plead a bit of ignorance here.
Yep.
Was there any reports of recovering bodies from that aircraft that allegedly hit the Pentagon?
No, because there was no debris, and the hole was not very big. I mean, it's a
small hole. The wings. If the fuselage had gone through that hole, the wings would have been sheared off and laying on the ground in front of the Pentagon.
And no matter how hard it hits the ground, these jet engines made out of titanium, and I mean, you're going to see some evidence. I mean, anytime you've seen an airplane crash, I mean.
The engines would have sheared off also on being laying there on the immaculate.
But I kept going back and staring at those photos, and I never heard anything about those. These weren't broadcast on any of the news media, and so my head was totally scrambled, because I'm a very suspicious person, and I said something about this whole thing didn't compute. And then when Building 7 fell, I looked at it and I said, "What? Which plane hit that?"
Exactly.
And so, from then on, I knew that
the whole thing was a fraud, right?
The whole thing was a fraud, and this was like 2 days after the event.
You want to hold on after the break here, William?
Sure.
Hold on, we got a break. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homestead, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 12th of September. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. There's lots there. You can spend a lot of time at my website. Interesting things that will educate you, inform you, entertain you, possibly make you upset. Very possible. A lot of people are asking me for years for a date. Well, John, when's it going to happen? Well, I got a date now. We have what we call field training exercise, USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. You get to pick your own scenario and start working towards getting ready for it. And it's a fun project. Hopefully it'll give you a date to focus on, because people seems like they need a date to focus on. Now you got one. Of course, also my website, we have energy cleaners. If you're a new listener, listen Thursday, the second half hour, the first hour, and you'll get an education on energy cleaners. A healing device puts out a healing electrostatic signal. I use mine every night. My daughter and her family, they use theirs every night. My grandson, who's playing football in college, he really gets a lot of relief. It doesn't matter which end of the health spectrum you're in, whether you're a top-performing athlete or somebody dealing with chronic conditions, the energy cleaner will probably help with pain. It doesn't matter if it's arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, it will probably help. Not getting a great night's sleep, probably help there also. Only $285 shipping included. Keep this in mind. I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do for me to you personally. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. It's a great combination, very comfortable, will help you get a great night's sleep and wake up pain-free like I do every morning. I do take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can place your order right there at my website, thelibertyman.com. You can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. This first hour, we got half an hour left. We're talking about the events of September 11th, 2001. William, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
The events at the Pentagon, one of the most secure locations on the planet, to say the least. Multiple video cameras recording everything that happens, every person, every car, every truck, every bug, every bird, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's never been any public release of the video of that plane allegedly crashing into the Pentagon, has there, sir?
Yeah, I think that, for me, I just started fast tracking, like, I got to get a handle on this, and I got to get away from the West Coast. So I went full steam ahead, and then I started trying to figure out, like, what really happened at the Pentagon, and I started doing my research. I started finding out that wing that was hit was just renovated. It was where Dov Zakheim took all the evidence for all the missing funds that were brought up, and he was put in charge as the comptroller of collecting that information. And, every agency in the Pentagon has their own auditors, and they were starting to say, where's our money? Because there was a lot of money missing. And, the General Accounting Office and Congress said, find out what happened to that money. Well, Dov Zakheim said, well, I want all the auditors in the Pentagon to move to this new renovated wing. And many of the agencies there, many of the military agencies said, well, we got our own offices here. We'll send the material over. And what a lot of people don't know is that in that wing that conveniently went up in smoke that day was all the evidence collected, and many of the personnel, many of the auditors from the other agencies and the other military departments were in that wing. And so when I started putting those things together, I thought, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened, and it's not anything like they say. And my plans of moving to Central, Oregon, to sort of get away from things and do some thinking, I woke up in the middle of the night, just like a week or so later, and said, I got to get gone. I got to get farther away from the West Coast than just Central Oregon. And so I just moved my new girlfriend and we just picked up and went to Montana in search of people who had a clue as to what was happening. And I'm happy to report that here I found them, and then my education went into high gear, and I am not like I was when 9/11 happened. I've had my eyes open to a lot of things. I realize that you have to take things in your own hands, and you have to be prepared for everything.
Right.
It's amazing. It's been that thing changed my life, and I was for years and years I was playing catch up. I mean, how do you encompass all of this? How do you process all of this information? But that's what we have to do to get clear and to get ready.
Absolutely. Well, I would love to see some independent forensics done on these things at this late stage. I'm not sure that's ever going to happen, but it's amazing how they can pull something off like this in front of the entire world and get away with it, isn't it, William?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really appreciate your effort. I followed your website, and you contribute so much information. And, we just have to be ready to learn what we've learned and pass it on to people who are waking up. And I see a real awakening happening where, the things that have happened in the last couple of weeks, just Harvey and, Irma and all of these disasters, plus, the fact that there is this amazing confusion. What do you see as real? What do you take as real? It just seems like we have to get smarter a lot quicker than we're doing.
We do. William, thank you for the call. We appreciate it, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I got a search engine here, IX Quick, that I occasionally use. It's a pretty decent search engine, and here's an image of a fire truck, squirting water on the fire at the Pentagon, and I don't see anything that looks like an airplane around there. I see this damage to this building, and it's pretty extensive, and fire and smoke, but I don't see any airplane parts around there at all. Got a caller on hold here. We have Paul in New Jersey. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, John. Hey, John, here's a question for you. Who's more morally repulsive, a criminal who straightforward commits a crime, or a criminal who tries to frame an innocent man for a crime? You see, and this is what I think about 9/11. The fact of the matter is the United States tried to frame this on the Afghani people, and I was guilty of it after 9/11. I said, bomb them into the Stone Age, bomb Kabul, and at the time I remember saying we should just bomb them, kill about 30,000 people, and leave. That's what I thought.
Okay. Right.
Well, now the point is, I, of course, was misguided at the time because I was following the mass media, and the mass media was pointing the finger to Afghanistan. They were saying it was Kabul who did it, and those are the ones who should be bombed. Now,
Right.
after much
Right.
retroflexion and research, it turns out the major two parties who, committed 9/11 are the American intelligence agencies, and it was approved, of course, by President Bush and Mr. Cheney, and their Israeli helpers and Mossad agents who they flew in to wire the buildings and then flew out back to Israel with their gatekeepers like Chertoff and Zelikow. Remember, Zelikow was the one who headed up the 9/11 Commission, right? So they could frame it and, point at those bad guys. Now, Dick Cheney, of course, he was a big advocate of waterboarding anybody and everybody. So my point is, these criminals are still running around free today. We never bombed Israel for it, and maybe Israel should be bombed into the Stone Age for what they did in their role in 9/11. Likewise, we should have hearings and mass arrests of the people in the deep state, the perpetrators, the criminals. We need to ferret them out. We need to find out who they are. And
here's something you need to hear. I don't know who generated this image, but there's an image of the courtyard of the Pentagon. This is the very center of the Pentagon, and the fuselage of this aircraft. We've got the cockpit of the aircraft completely intact, undamaged, laying in the middle of the courtyard of the Pentagon, and the tail section, the vertical tail piece and the two horizontal tail pieces, completely intact, sitting in the middle of the courtyard of the Pentagon here. That's how crazy is that?
Well, was Mr. Rumsfeld too doing his photo op, seeming like a concerned citizen, going and collecting the refuse and the debris that day too? Because again, that's how he established his alibi during the day. Just like Mr. Bush reading his book about goats to children, that was his alibi for the day. Because they knew what was going on.
Reading the book upside down.
Yeah, exactly. Because he was nervous at the time, because he was part of the crime. And that's how criminals behave.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying about this. There's still time to make arrests. Many of these people are still alive. If we have the will and a non-corrupt, non-criminal Justice Department and Attorney General, there's no reason why we shouldn't have mass arrests, interrogations, and maybe we should fly out some of these people for renditioning to Syria. Right? Because George Bush thought that's a great idea. Is if you want somebody tortured, you fly them out of the country and have Syria do it for us.
Right.
And so I think these are good ideas, and we should thank Mr. Cheney for teaching us these interrogation techniques, and we should strap him down to a table, put a cloth over his mouth, and pour water over the cloth until he tells us all he knows. And that's what we should be doing. Because these criminals need to be brought to justice. They murdered, they conspired, and they were willing to frame innocent people for their crimes. They're the lowest of the low. They deserve hangings. We should have this justice. We need to round up these criminals and bring them before trials and then ultimately to a gallows. That's what should happen for justice to be served, because it hasn't been served. And they've deluded us with the help of the media and the Zionist-controlled media. And they've promoted these lies about physics and the collapse of these buildings. They absconded, Mr. Silverstein absconded with his billions of dollars for those buildings he just insured 6 months earlier.
What happened to all the gold that was in the basement of in that vault in the World Trade Center?
I just assume all the gold got shifted to the Rothschilds over in London, just like Libya's gold and Iraq's gold, too.
Well, that's a good assumption, but there's no evidence, is there?
Right. But this is a banking issue, too, and that's part of, again, that same Jewish cabal. That's right.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Well, Paul, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. Call number is 800-313-9443. I have to admit a bit of ignorance about what happened at the Pentagon. I have no doubt that the families of the people who were allegedly in that aircraft would want their family remains of their family members returned for proper burial. If anybody knows about that nuance, I would love to hear what happened that day in terms of, I should say, following that day, in terms of body recovery of the people who were in that, allegedly in that airplane that crashed. Amazing. Yes. Well, it changed everything. That the events that day changed everything in this country. Here we go. There's a guy. Oh, this is allegedly at the scene of the Pentagon. Looks like a civilian. He's got gloves on. He's not in uniform. He's got a Oxford button-down shirt, no tie, sleeves rolled up, khaki trousers, carrying a piece of what appears to be aluminum from possibly an aircraft. I say possibly. It's hard to say. And the caption says, "Missing Pentagon evidence." Missing Pentagon evidence. Here's a nice photograph here. What is that? What hit the Pentagon? There's lots of people have spent far more time on this than I have. Far more time researching what happened that particular day. There's been pilots say, very experienced pilots who have flown these type aircraft for thousands of hours, say they couldn't do what allegedly was done that day. That's what they say. I'm going to call her and hold her. We got Glenn in Philadelphia. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, John. Hi. I can identify with the indignation of your previous caller, but at this stage of the game, I think it's pretty unlikely that we will see justice served relative
Agreed.
to plotters of 9/11. Well, and just as we never saw the truth come out totally about the JFK murder or anything like that. So so time has elapsed. I would suggest that we have bigger fish to fry, or bigger problems on our plate right at the moment. We've managed to get a populist nationalist president elected, but there seems to be a dearth of honest men. I just picture the Greek character Diogenes walking around with his lamp looking for an honest man. It's possible for people to serve in positions in the government without it.
Hold that thought, Glenn. We have a break. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday the 12th. Let's continue with your comments here, Glenn.
Okay, John. What I was saying when we went to break is that we have a present crisis. We have to look at the crisis presently at hand is one of ethics. There's a lack of honesty, a lack of ethics. Many people have adopted this notion that the ends justify the means. It's called consequentialist ethics or situational utilitarian ethics, where the ends justify the means, which basically boils down to a license to lie or cheat or steal because you're doing it for the greater good or the common good. And it's possible to work in the government in some office and not agree with the politics of your leadership, but that doesn't justify becoming subversive. And that's what we have going on now. We have people who, in place, in positions throughout the government, who disagree with Donald Trump's nationalism and the things he wants to do for America. And he has accomplished some good things. I'm very much afraid this man will be scuttled. But it's possible for people to work in government offices, conduct themselves ethically, disagree with some of the policies without becoming subversive. Okay, there are a great many people who didn't like the politics of Obama, but they didn't necessarily try to subvert everything he tried to do. And,
right.
I have to credit, Trump has kept us out of the TPP. He's pulling us out of these international agreements that do nothing but drain us, take, from us. So I would like to see, I think we need to look at our present crisis and the fact that our president is surrounded by jackals and wolves and subversives and controllers I'm much more concerned rather than 9/11 at this point than I am about our present problems of honesty in government and that sort of thing. Also about I wanted to bounce back and mention about the people who died, approximately somewhere around the neighborhood of 3,000 people.
Right.
On 9/11. Well, in our subsequent wars, we have been, I thank Leslie Clark for having made public this knowledge about their plans to invade 7 nations in 5 years, which has not panned out. But we lost 3,000 people in 9/11. The numbers of people dead in Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, are in the millions. We lost 3,000, which is 3% of 1 million. These countries that we have since invaded have lost millions. And this was all made possible by the response to 9/11. All righty, John, thanks.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the call. We don't have time for any more calls this hour. It's been a good discussion. I hope we've stimulated some thought and possibly stimulate some people to look into this matter further. It's certainly caused me to rethink this. I haven't looked at this for quite a while. But what did happen to the passengers on the aircraft Flight 77 that allegedly hit the Pentagon? Were those bodies recovered and remains returned to the families? I don't know. I quite frankly don't know. We have top of the hour break. We'll be back with Leon Green. Stay tuned. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here, our second hour on Tuesday, the 12th day of September. Proper tip of the day. Winter's coming. I want you to get all your winter gear out. Make sure that it's all in good condition, ready for use, and proper repair. If anything needs to be repaired or replaced, well, go ahead and set about the business of doing that. And also, if you're thinking about buying new socks, I want you to check out merino wool socks. I've been wearing merino wool socks in hot weather and cold weather continuously for about 15, 16 years. They're great. I think that you'll find out they're the same for you. I got tired of cold, clammy feet in the summertime with cotton socks, which is what you have and what I had for, well, basically my entire life before I found merino wool socks. They're great. Okay, we have patient waiting agreement with my friend Leon Green. Leon Green is a gentleman who's taken the time, made the effort to become very knowledgeable about all the wonderful ways that incorporating essential oils, doTERRA essential oils, can have on your life to help you have the fun, full, happy, productive life that we all want to have. Good morning, Leon.
Good morning, John. How you doing, sir?
If I felt any better, it wouldn't be illegal. So,
well, you ought to hear background noise here, because that's good to hear that.
I got some news. I've been recruited to become an instructor at a newly opened rifle, pistol, shotgun range, which all the instructors are former special operations guys, and we have our first. I'll be teaching concealed carry training. The first class is scheduled. I'll be instructing in October, and my friend Sam Andrews has been on this show with me several times. He went public with something that kind of surprised me. It's been a number of months ago. You probably remember.
Congratulations! I'm glad to hear that.
Well, thank you. Did you see the film Charlie Wilson's War by any chance?
Yes, I did.
Okay. They repeated what's been repeated many, many times, that the Americans gave the Afghan rebels the Stinger missiles to shoot down the Russian helicopters, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
The Heinz.
All right. That's not what happened. And my friend Sam Andrews was there. It was Americans shooting the Stinger missiles, shooting down the Russian helicopters, and Sam Andrews was one of them. Now, since he went public, there's no harm in me repeating it because it's already in the record. And he said, John, here's the deal. Those Hind helicopters, they couldn't get above a certain altitude. I believe he said about whatever it was, 8,000 or 10,000 feet. He says, John, what we did, we got above them in the mountains in Afghanistan, and we used the Stinger missiles to shoot down at their Hind helicopters and bring them down.
Wow, which is very easy in Afghanistan because it's such a high altitude place as it is. So yes.
Amazing. Pretty amazing.
Yes. So are we still missing? I heard we were missing like 45. You know, they didn't want to sell it back to us. Is that bogus too?
45 what?
I heard they kept 45 Stinger missiles, and we offered to buy them back, and they said no. So is that a big propaganda too?
I don't have any details or follow up on that, so I really I can't comment. But I will give, when I find it here, the YouTube location, not the YouTube, but the Facebook location for the range that I'll be working with, and I'll have it here shortly. Let's see. Let's talk about, while I'm looking for this, doTERRA essential oils. We've got the cleanup beginning now as a consequence of these hurricanes, and people are going to be dealing with a lot of mold issues, aren't they, sir?
Absolutely, yes. We've talked about that now, for 2 weeks, and it's just going to get more compounded now with the waters receding. And if people don't do things about it promptly, they'll start having more health issues, respiratory issues, and also skin issues because the mold is going to infest them. Praying that it's not the black mold, which is the really deadly stuff.
So there's going to be health issues, mold issues, which one, of course, goes with the other. And so which oil should people be getting to deal with health issues and mold issues both?
Well, in this case, the oils that are best for removing the mold is melaleuca and oregano, and On Guard as well. I mean, you're trying to clean up after the fact. But a lot of the fabrics, you can wash your clothes and I do it naturally anyways with the doTERRA On Guard's laundry detergent. And so I do that and I put melaleuca in there naturally. I just put 3 or 4 drops in there, and it kills any mold. It's also in the, in a washer, and it also kills any that are on the clothes themselves. So they work very well in removing the mold. But for people who already have it, the respiratory issues, what happens is you take, and you'll hear background noise because I'm out at the range again as we speak, so you're going to hear background noise. You take melaleuca, you can diffuse that to get it into your lungs to kill the mold spores in your lungs, and you can also take it sublingually, or you can put it in a gel cap, along with oregano and lemon and lemongrass. And so what's in the GX Assist, which is specifically for Candida albicans but applies to all mold, is melaleuca, oregano, lemongrass, lemon, caprylic acid, and thyme oil. And so those oils are very effective in eliminating mold across the board, so a broad spectrum across the board. But the 2 most important ones are oregano and melaleuca.
Well, people need to pay attention here. I would think that On Guard would be good. People dealing with being around all kinds of toxic stuff would be a good one to have, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And that's one you take as a prophylactic and it's a preventive. So you take it in advance. So I take it when we went to the conference this last week, just 3 days ago, and so because there are 32,000 people from around the world, Japan, Ecuador, all over. They fly in, and I take it because they've been on planes that have flown through Heathrow and Singapore and Hong Kong, and I don't want to have those bugs and all the viruses and have their pathogens affect me in my travel. So I take it every morning, one drop in the morning and one at night. But when I'm in mass, in groups of that size, I take it pretty much hourly because there are people coughing. And I guess if you did a test, you'd find if they tested all 32,000 people, there would be transient forms of respiratory problems, as in H1N1, and some of them are just carriers. They don't even know they have it. So that's why when people travel, they always ask, where are you going to be staying? Because if there's a pandemic that breaks out, they want to track everybody on those planes as soon as possible. And if they have to come in with biohazmats because the people have already expired, they already have that information. That's why they're so invasive to find out where you live.
That's right. So, here's how you get started with doTERRA essential oils, ladies and gentlemen. If you've got a question or comment, give us a call, by the way, at 800-313-9443. The 8th edition of Modern Essentials is out this month. I don't know if it's available yet or not, but it should be pretty quickly, shouldn't it? And,
it is available now.
It is available.
Edition, yes.
The 9th edition. All right, the 9th edition.
Yes, yeah. The 8th edition's been out for a year, and they just keep rolling it out. And so there's Modern Essentials, which is on their 9th, and then there's another company called the Essential Oils, which is on there, going on the 4th. So there's multiple companies that produce it. Remember when we talked earlier, the FDA, prohibits a natural company to both have the solution and the literature attached to it. So what happens is it's an FTC, FDA agreement that unless you're a drug company, and if you're a pharmaceutical drug, you can do whatever you want. You can print up all the literature and just use that, with the doctors and everything else.
Right. Well, you get the copy of the 9th edition and the 5th edition. You want both. And then send me an email. By return email, I will send you my doTERRA website link. My email address is thelibertyman@aol.com. And get going on this. Once you've got those two things, you're ready to move forward, aren't you, Leon?
Correct.
Yes.
It's very simple. And matter of fact, with the and we'll go in depth with the new oils when you get a chance. As a matter of fact, you probably received the list, being that you're a member as well. They would have mailed it out to you, but emailed it out to you. But yeah, this was the first time in doTERRA history in which all of the kits, the convention kits, were sold out there. So 32,000. They actually sold more than that. And so they had 25,000 kits, and they were all gone. So we can go in depth about the oils when you get a chance.
Absolutely. Well, the oils are mentioned in the Bible more than 300 times, I believe, aren't they, Leon?
Absolutely.
So
yes. Matter of fact, and for people who are doubting that, please email me or contact me, and I will send you that information on all the oils. But if you just know biblically, think about it: frankincense, myrrh, spikenard, cassia, aloes, which is sandalwood. There's lavender. So they've been used for time immemorial across all cultures because of their efficacy on many issues. So physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So the application of oils are renowned, and for people who don't, they discount them. They're like, many men, especially men, have that mentality of, these are foo-foo and they smell pretty and they're snake oils, and it's because, it's because of ignorance. Just like, if you don't know how NVGs works or thermals, that you just don't realize that, hey, you put out a thermal signature regardless of where you go, and there's certain things you can do to mitigate that, or just like with NVGs, there's three main spectrums of NVG. So the type, Gen 3, 950 nanometers are much more effective than the type 2, which are typically the civilians. So people think, oh, I can see them. But if you only have type 2, they can illuminate you, and you don't have a clue that they're illuminating you. So this is where ignorance is not bliss. And even in the Bible it says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. And so if you have this information, you know how to use the oils, and now is the time to get them while you still can.
That's right. Get them while you can. We make the assumption that tomorrow's going to be the same as today, and next week will be the same as last week, and next year will be the same as this year. That's not necessarily the same, is it?
Absolutely.
No, not at all. Well, Leon, you've graciously made you available for private consultations. I understand people don't want to discuss their private health matters in front of several thousand people here on Republic Broadcasting. What is that office number for people to have a private consultation, Leon?
Yes, it's 303-495-2188.
That's 303-495-2188, and that's on Mountain Time. Call Leon, make an appointment for a private consultation. And something we talk about occasionally is transferring yourself from prescription pharmaceutical drugs and going over to using essential oils to take the place of the prescription products. That would be a long-term and even short-term a smart thing to do, wouldn't it, Leon?
Absolutely, because if say something as simple as sleep. Sleep is crucial for recuperation, and after X amount of time, people actually expire if they're up 24/7. They've done tests in Russia and found out that 96 hours apparently is the expiration time in which people die. They don't have sleep after that time. The body just shuts down completely, and actually dies. So. By taking something as a natural sedative in lieu of all the drugs that are out there that, are, even on the black box label it says, it may disrupt sleep, it may cause depression, nausea, the whole list of things attached to some of these sleep drugs. What is very simple is something like frankincense, and what I take for nightly sleep is just lavender to go to sleep and lemon to stay asleep. And for people who have insomnia, what works very well is wild orange, and that citrus oil works very well. See, they had 2.5 days of science on the oils, and my notebook is replete with the description of how these different oils work on the entire limbic system and how it allows the brain to calm down. And like ylang-ylang is a great example. That's for people who have mind chatter. They're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, they can't get back to sleep, whether it's stress from work. They're worried about flooding waters, tornadoes, fires on the West Coast. All these things. The economic condition of America. If they have mind chatter and they can't go back to sleep, ylang-ylang is one of the very few oils that actually slows down mental activity and cognition.
Right.
So that is great for people.
The name of that range I'll be working with is Freedom Center USA, and you can find it on Facebook. It's a brand new range down near Lebanon, Missouri. Well, this is an education for people. They need to be aware that there is alternatives to harmful, expensive pharmaceutical products. And in a long-term grid-down situation, you're not going to get access to pharmaceutical products at all, are you, Leon?
No, sir. Because think about it. If the UPS and the mail does not ship, and the local pharmacy has already been raided and everything's been taken out, all the typical drugs are gone, it's whatever you have in your stash and whatever your neighbors have that they will share with you. Other than that, you're on your own. So now is the time to acquire them and actually use them so they work. So,
right.
Now we have over 90 oils, and so collectively, many people say, well, do I need all 90 of them? And no. What's nice about the oils is, there are certain oils that have different attributes. So we can go down terpenes, monoterpenes. We just go down the list scientifically of how certain oils will be able to suppress pathogens, and others are very good for respiratory support. So this is what they go in depth at the convention. But just suffice to say that you can learn about them now, and you can use, have a small kit that is able to
hold that thought, Leon. We have a break here. We have a break. We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. It's taken 3 years before I could offer the inter-shelter domes for sale. During those 3 years, several different governments and militaries were taking all their production. The inter-shelter dome homes may be just what you've been looking for to provide affordable, energy-efficient, permanent, and attractive housing. These dome homes are prefabricated units that can be assembled in a few hours by 2 men with a ladder and simple hand tools. Check out the photos of these dome homes built in the Arctic, on tropical beaches, in suburban areas, and in forests. All the details, many photographs, and the pricing of the dome homes are listed on the left-hand side of my homepage at thelibertyman.com. I think you'll find these homes are not only attractive, but they're energy efficient, and a bonus. You can disassemble them and reassemble them as many times as you feel you need to. Pretty great, huh? Something that's very, very unique. Check them out at my website at thelibertyman.com. Thank you. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 12th day of September. 12th day of September. How about that? The year is quickly slipping by here. Visiting with Leon Green. We're talking about doTERRA essential oils. There's a lot of ignorance, Leon, about longevity and what it really was like in the early part of the 20th century and the 19th century, how long people lived, because people don't understand actuarial tables. We had a lot of youngsters die before age 5, which brought down the overall lifespan in terms of life expectancy. But in the early part of the 20th century, the 19th century, and even earlier, once you lived past age 5, typically people lived to be quite old and healthy individuals, didn't they, Leon?
Absolutely. And I remember when I was young, the ages that, and then you'd always hear it on the television or the magazines would say, okay, now people have, we've increased by 10 or 15 years, and then there are many. There are many cultures and countries worldwide that that exceed us drastically, and I have some of the pictures from convention. I'll have to send you a bunch of them when I get a chance. It showed how much money we spend on. We roughly spend $9,500 per capita in America on medical, but we are in the bottom 80% worldwide in quality of life. And so throwing money at it in the form of, drugs is not the answer. And so, Dr. David Hill spent an hour talking about the differences between this. And I'm going to send this to you and Dr. Dr. Moore, so she can see that and learn more about it too, because it was very informative. And a lot of it she will know, but some of the things that just were released, scientifically about the oils, it's going to be new for everybody.
Well, good. We look forward to seeing that. Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate the help there. Knowing about the oils and the diffusers, which break down the oils into a tiny particles, put it in the air to help you feel better and be healthier. It's been dramatic changes to my life, Leon, all for the better, I might add, in terms of my health and attitude, all these things, because the oils can help attitude as well, can't they?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, they took about an hour and a half, 2 hours on how the oils are very effective in reducing stress and frustration. So Vanderbilt University, they came back after 7 years and said, now we're going to expand our study that we had done 8 years ago on the essential oils in the ER. And now they're going to place the diffusers. It used to just be in the ER, but they're going to put it throughout the entire Vanderbilt University hospital there. I went to visit that back in March. And so that was one of the Vanderbilt studies. And then another woman works with one of the largest oncology or cancer centers in America. And she found out that one of the biggest problems that the cancer staff, the staffers, employees, and nurses have it's called compassion and burnout. And so how they had done studies on how different oils reduce the amount of the compassion index, and how they have to have the compassion. Okay, these people are expiring or will expire if they keep using the drugs at the rate they're going. And so a lot of the nurses were dealing with burnout. So they found out that using the oils, and especially the emotional blend oils, so they use forgive and cheer seem to be the two highest, the most effective ones in reducing the burnout with nurses. So it was very interesting to see that.
Hold that thought. We have a break. Call number is 800-313-9443.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. I've worked with men and women involved in the high-end shelters for years. With the Ozark Survival Homestead, you get things you don't get with the high-end shelters. You get a opportunity to be in the bunker, of course. You also get a home, a 60 by 90 lot. You get your storable food, your livestock share, your garden, greenhouse share, your seed bank share. One person to have everything they need, right at $25,000. For a family of three, $37,000. You really need to check this out. It's very unique. At my website, you'll see the Ozark Survival Homesteads on the left side of my homepage. Go there, read that one page, fill out the form with your name, your email address, and your telephone number, and I will forward that to the guys and gals at the Ozark Survival Homesteads. Check it out. You'll be very glad you did. Thank you very much. All right, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 12th day of September. My website is thelibertyman.com. That's thelibertyman.com. You'll find interesting things there, unique things, such as the inter-shelter domes, which are, with these storms, they're loading up inter-shelter domes and taking them to Metro Houston and Florida both to help people have good, clean, sanitary, substantial housing in just a couple of hours it takes to put one together. It's a great service to have access to these. And of course, don't forget field training exercise, USS Liberty, December 31st, 2018. You get to pick your own scenario. Let's see what's the choices here. We got a lot of scenarios that you can choose from, and here they are. Economic collapse leading civil disorder, number one. Number two, World War III. Next, we have rapid onset violent earth changes. Then we have widespread terrorist attacks, and last but not least, natural or man-made EMP. Pick a scenario, pick one or two, don't matter. You can pick all five. And you have until December 31st, 2018 to get ready. Of course, also my website are energy cleaners, marvelous healing devices. No, they're not the silver bullet. I would not pretend to tell you that. You have to change, if you think you could continue eating beer, pizza, and ice cream as the three main food groups and be healthy using an energy cleaner, that's not going to happen. No, it's not. You're going to have to make lifestyle changes also. We focus on pain. It could be arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain. We get success in almost all cases. Not getting a great night's sleep, probably help. That's where the energy cleaner comes in. Don't forget to check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads. And also, get this. I offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on energy cleaner, so you're risking nothing when you buy an energy cleaner. Only $285 shipping included. Yes, I take PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. Checks can be sent to my address at thelibertyman.com. My toll-free auto line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. We're visiting with Leon Green. We're talking about another aspect of health. That's the doTERRA essential oils. Got a question or comment for Leon or anything about essential oils? Give us a call at 800-313-9443. Well, Leon, my wife, Dr. Moore, places the orders for the essential oils, and each month incrementally, our inventory grows, an inventory that my daughter could use in the future, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, because it only takes one drop in most applications per dosage, and there's no expiration date on these oils, is there, Leon?
Absolutely. And yes, we put on the bottom of the bottle for people who are already members. They have a date on there, and that's just because it's considered a food supplement. And because of that, the FDA requires all of them. When I first came with doTERRA, they didn't have that on there. And then I asked them about that, and they said, yeah, we understand. And then the FDA started, getting in touch with doTERRA because we've actually changed the industry. We pretty much were the birther of this industry because it was very, very quiet for the last, 4,000 years. And now all of a sudden, doTERRA and their advocates are educating people around the world. And now we've already exceeded 5 million members. So with that influx, we pretty much birthed an industry in that. So we're $7.5 billion annually. So the FDA mandates that any food, anything that touches your mouth or goes into your body has to have a date on it. But the oils have no shelf life. I mean, they have no expiration date officially if they don't if they are kept cool, dark, and dry. Right.
Well, an Egyptian tomb is not all that cool, but cool enough to preserve the essential oil stored in Egyptian tombs for more than 2,000 years that are still medically valuable, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes. Matter of fact, you remember, if you get down below 8 feet on the earth, you start to reach the Earth's temperature, and so it's roughly 54 degrees. So it is actually kind of cool because some of these Egyptian tombs are buried, hundreds of feet underground, 100 feet underground. So it's pretty cool, and it's definitely dark.
That would be just right. So, that would be just right.
Yes,
no ultraviolet, ideal temperature. Obviously, in the desert, no humidity. So,
yes.
Well, it's a with these oils, these doTERRA essential oils, it's a win-win situation. If you get yourself the two books that we mentioned earlier, Modern Essentials, Volume 5, Modern Essentials, Volume 9, just out this month, and get the website from me. Because of the FDA, once again, we don't post a website on we don't post my doTERRA website on my website. I would like to see that change in the future, but for the time being, that's the way it is. So send me an email. My email address is thelibertyman@AOL.com, and by return email, I will send you my doTERRA website, and you've got what you need to get going. My listeners, Leon, they're bright men and women, and they know how to do research. And let's mention PubMed and all the information that's there. Why don't we, sir?
Yes, sir. PubMed is a U.S.-based clearinghouse that collects all sorts of medical protocols and studies and research projects worldwide. And so PubMed.org or PubMed.gov is a free site that you can access these summaries. You know, they do have the professional site that people can access. You just have to be a member or you pay for it. But you can see the summaries of the studies. And so there's over 40,000 studies on essential oils alone on that site. And there's millions and millions of other studies, you know, using the typical drugs. But they also have acupuncture and chiropractic and all that. So all the studies they've pretty much worldwide will be compiled there. And so if you typed in something like frankincense and then the word cancer after that, you'd see about 10 to 20 different studies on how effective frankincense is in being anti-canceral and anti-tumoral. And then lavender with sleep. And so all these studies are available for the general public. And there was a nurse that was actually at the event, and she said, wow, that brought up a lot of credibility for doTERRA because she used the that website, PubMed.org, while she was a medical nurse in the Navy. And she said, well, I've already been using this for decades, and I already know how good it is. And then when doTERRA talked about it, she said, wow, there's a lot of credibility there. So that's good to hear it from a nurse who's had that exposure to it. And it's a great site. You can type in specific issues. And then, and you may, if you know what the issue is, and by having that book that John's talking about, called Modern Essentials, you can back reference and find out exactly which oils. And what's great about the oils, one oil can do a multitude of applications. So peppermint, mental clarity, nausea, seasickness, motion sickness, hot flashes for menopause sufferers. Peppermint's great for increasing appetite, headaches. So one drop can apply to many different applications or issues all at the same time, which when you think of drugs, they're specific. They're like sniper bullets, whereas the oils are more like shotgun, a birdshot or buckshot, because it can apply to, if you have a headache and you also have nausea at the same time, it'll apply to both of them. And your body knows what homeostasis is, and because they are hydrocarbon atoms, and you are a hydrocarbon organism, they're naturally absorbed and accepted readily. Whereas the chemicals are petrochemicals, and they are not lipid-based or not liquid-based or oil-based. So what happens is they are foreign, and that's why you have so many hepatic or hepotoxic issues pertaining to the petrochemicals. That means liver toxicities, and you always hear about, it's shut down the livers. It's because it's foreign to the body. So the oils can benefit multiple systems at the same time. So cardamom is a great example. It helps with the digestive as well as respiratory support. So it is so effective in both capacities that it's in both our DigestZen, which is an oil, which is a proprietary blend by doTERRA, and it's also in the Breathe oil. So one oil can have multiple applications. Frankincense is a perfect example. It covers a multitude of emotional, physical issues, and also spiritual. So that's what's good about the oils. It applies, and for preppers and people who are into that, they want to have things that have multiple uses. That's why in your bug out bag you have multiple, things that work well in multiple capacities, like a shamag or a bandana can help for straining, for straining out water, and also if you're in a riot situation and you need to be able to breathe because they put CS gas in the air, and what happens is you can wet that and put it around your neck. And there's so many applications for burns you can use as a sling. So oils are the ultimate medical multi-use or Swiss Army knife because they have so many applications from one drop.
Amazing. Well, everything about the oils is all very positive. The effectiveness, the cost, the way, you can store them basically forever in a cool, dark, dry place. It's just any which way you look at it, the essential oils stand head and shoulders above the pharmaceutical products, don't they, Leon?
Yes, sir. Head and shoulders above. You're right.
Amazing. Well, what are you waiting for, ladies and gentlemen? You get busy. Send me an email so you can get that doTERRA website link. My email address is thelibertyman@AOL.com. And get on the road to optimal health and well-being, and away from the harmful, expensive, dangerous pharmaceutical products.
And John, can we do this? Since, they did pretty much tell us that we can't do it on the website, but why can't we can say your website, can't we say it? MyDoTERRA or doTERRA.com/John Moore.
All right. Yes.
That shouldn't be a problem because it's not like it's being posted on the web, so they can actually listen to it. So for the people who are podcasting it weeks later, they can still hear it expedited because, it also takes the...
Right. It's /John Moore 12. The digits 12. Right.
Okay.
And yes, well, that's a good thing. Get those emails to me, and I'll be, as soon as I get off the air here, I'll be returning emails, and of course you can go straight to it with that information Leon just gave us. You can go straight to my doTERRA website link and save a little time. Whatever gets it done, right, Leon?
Absolutely, and as preppers, we have the attitude, get her done. And in this case, because of how important it is, get it done as fast as possible. Because, whether you're dealing with the mold issues in the southeast or the respiratory problems in the northwest and LA, I mean, the people who are having, asthma, emphysema, all these issues in those places, they are pretty much have to, they're either going to the contained scuba or, breathing oxygen because, they can expire just because they're breathing in the bad air, and since they already have restricted airflow, it can be very, very life-threatening for them. So something as simple as breathe or peppermint is very effective in increasing capillary action and a respiratory flow in the body. So, these two emergencies on both coasts are impacting people medically and physically. So doTERRA has solutions for all of these problems.
Outstanding. Well, I don't see any reason to wait myself. If people are struggling, taking pharmaceutical products, not getting good results, because long term, what the pharmaceutical products do is cover up whatever the condition might be, whatever the symptom might be. There's no healing taking place with pharmaceutical products, is there, Leon?
No, sir. It's a Band-Aid. And it's the analogy many people have is, if on your dashboard one of the lights come on, your check engine light, your coolant light, whatever, and you just put a piece of black tape over it, does it actually fix the problem? No. They just mask it, and that's exactly what the drugs do. The symptoms, they treat the symptoms. They don't cure the underlying problem. And so the oils give your body the tools that are needed for it to repair itself, because the body is the ultimate, it ultimately can repair itself, and it's remarkably resilient, whether it's dealing with cancer, it's dealing with depression, across the board. It has such healing properties, but it just needs tools, and that's how doTERRA and other products that John endorses can address those issues. What I like best about the oils is, you can store them just like you can store your your cat tourniquets and all your bandages and Curlex and all that. You can store these with those and with ammo and bury it. And still, if you need to go dig it up 20 years from now, you can still access it and it'll still work. That's what I like best about those. And they don't need electricity. They're very effective.
Right. Well, yes, this is an education. It's a process. Getting these two books is a starting point. Modern Essentials Volume 5, Modern Essentials Volume 9. Getting the website, mydoterra.com /John Moore 12. Those are the tools to get moving on this and get going and incorporate these things into your daily life. And that's what needs to happen, right, Leon? Is incorporating these oils into your daily life.
Exactly. I mean, before I got on the show this morning, the first thing I reached for was my oils. So, I took the 4 that I take every day, and then I also took peppermint and Roman chamomile because, it gets you going, but also Roman chamomile helps you with memory and mental focus. And so there's so many benefits. And we can briefly talk about if you like, the 5 new oils that have come out at convention, and they also came out with a couple blends as well. So if you want to just lightly touch on it, and then when I get my notes out, we can go more in depth in each one in the subsequent weeks.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well,
so they came out with. Go ahead.
Well, so you have a new oil?
Yes, sir. We have 5 new oils, 5 new individual or single oils, and 3 new blends. So the 5 oils are rose oil, which has only been available for members or who are actually enrolling now, because the price of the oil is $450 for the bottle, and those were only earned; they weren't given away. So doTERRA, I'll hold the thought.
Hold that thought. We have a break. Stay tuned. Be right back. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Tuesday, the 12th day of September. Leon, this venture that you and I are on to inform people, educate people, it takes us places we really don't expect to, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, when I'm dealing with somebody that had some serious issues with diabetic osteomyelitis and several other issues, and the doctors just said, "Here, it's so bad. We just want to cut it off." That's how this person lives in southern Montana near the Wyoming border, and she was talking about it, and the doctors, she pretty much gave up the summer with her children to be with this woman who was about to lose her leg, and so across the board, I work with all sorts of issues that you're like, wow. And so what blew me away is when she told me this, Miss Watkins told me this. She said that the doctors just said, we can't do anything with the drugs we have, and if you don't arrest the problem quickly, we're going to cut off the leg. And the woman was really motivated to keep her leg, and so she was working with the doctors from doTERRA, and her leg, the disease has been conquered, and now you can see healing. You can see big, instead of the ugly black gangrenous area, she has had miraculous success, and right now she still has probably another month or so to work on this to get it, so she can actually get out of the hospital with both legs. So it's great to see that, and with the human condition, with all the diseases that we manage to find, or that find us, doTERRA is able to address the vast majority of them. And I can't think of any they can't, but I just have to say that as a disclaimer. But
right.
Yes, it's very fulfilling to see how people can do this, because the doctors are like, whatever you're doing, don't stop it, because none of our drugs are able to do what you're doing. So, but
exactly.
But one of the pushbacks the doctors said was, it smells up the place. And I'm like, this woman who's in the hospital about to lose her leg really doesn't care if somebody doesn't like the smell of, Melaleuca or doesn't like Handguard. And I was like, get her out of the hospital. I wouldn't want to lose my leg because these people, they'd rather smell bleach and all the other chemicals and, something that's natural. But that's just pushback from an ignorant doctor, but that's okay. But pertaining to the single oils. Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, my leg is more, her leg is more important than your smell. If you don't like it, go elsewhere then. You can come in just to look at the foot and take off. Put bleach under your nose and then see how you like that.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. I know.
But yeah, the 5 oils, I'll just briefly talk about it. Rose oil,
jasmine oil, and those are fantastic oils. They're two of the most expensive oils in the world. And they have it in a roll-on, so they've actually diluted it. Most of the other single oils are singles, but this is called the touch. That means you can use it. But those two, we will go in depth. They have great emotional application. Rose is phenomenal for oncology patients. There are studies already on how effective rose is specifically for that. Then we have neroli oil and blue tansy. So you remember how deep blue has that blue tint to it?
That's right.
The blue tansies in there, and they talked about that with chamomile, Roman chamomile, and all of those. And then the other one that came out was copaiba, copaiba, C-O-P-A-I-B-A. It's from Brazil.
Let's talk about that next week.
Respiratory.
Let's talk about that next week, Leon. Thank you, as always. That's it for the day.
All right,
That's it for the day. Thank you, Leon. That's it for the day. Get your medical supplies, energy, cleaning, essential oils now while you can. Your firearms, ammunition. Never, ever give up your guns. Have a fun, safe, productive day. And God bless America.